Hello, my name is Tony. Car chases in thriller movies in the late 60s, early 70s. There were some belters. Bullet, The French Connection, The 7-Ups, Fear is the Key. They added to the popularity of those films. Well, Bullet and The French Connection anyway. My favourite, featuring the one car chase I rate most highly, was in The 7-Ups. And that wasn't too popular, folks. But anyway, a stage was reached whereby some bright sparks thought it a good idea to make whole movies centred around the car chase. A case of one long car chase with a breather or two here and there. The road movie became the chase movie or pursuit movie, with most notably Vanishing Point, Duel, The Sugarland Express and Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. Perhaps the purest offerings in this cross-pollinating subgenre were Vanishing Point followed by Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. The primary focus of both was the chase, the pursuit, and the cunning stunts employed therein to dazzle the eye, jangle the nerves and pump the blood. Having covered Vanishing Point, I thought it was time to take another look at its spiritual second cousin. Not the closest of relatives perhaps, but relatively close nonetheless. And once upon a time I was subjected to multiple viewings of it, as it seemed to crop up as a support feature on every other double bill I went to the cinema to see. I couldn't get away from the fucking thing. So you can believe me when I tell you I sat through it so many times I became heartily sick of it. Having not seen it for many a decade now, and as the Blu-ray remaster has recently come into my orbit, right this moment I thought is the time to give it the once-over once more. The plot is simplicity itself, a functional, rudimentary framework on which to hang the automotive action. It runs like this. Larry Rader, Peter Fonda and Deke Summers, Adam Rourke, a racing driver and car mechanic respectively. NASCAR wannabes. They're out to heist the wages safe of a large supermarket in rural California to fund their bid for the big time. Deke holds the wife and daughter of the supermarket manager Stanton, an uncredited Roddy McDowell, hostage while Larry pops round to clear out the safe. Leaving with the money, Larry hasn't reckoned with his one-night stand Mary Coombs, Susan George, turning up and refusing to get out of his car, a souped-up Chevrolet Impala. She's a bit pissed that he crept away that morning without saying goodbye or something, 'cause she's pure class, she is, and deserves some respect. She insists on going along for the ride with Larry and Deke. The rest of the film is a road movie chase hybrid in which the outlaws make a bid for freedom, changing cars to a beautiful Dodge Charger. They are pursued across country by a fleet of police cars and a helicopter under the command of unorthodox but tenacious police captain Franklin Vic Morrow. Using a radio scanner to counter the strategies of the fuzz, they enter a grid-light 60-square-mile expanse of walnut groves. It's a high-octane blast of automotive action complete with burning rubber, squealing tires, clouds of dust, crunching collisions and daring stunt work as the trio argue, bicker and wind each other up whilst trying to outmaneuver and outrun the authorities. Will they make it? For those who haven't seen it, I'll spoil it for you later. Well, if you want. There is no mystery, no complexity, nothing to provoke philosophical contemplation or even basic thought processes come to that. Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry dispenses with such needless frippery, which isn't a problem at all and proves to be its biggest strength. The omission of anything remotely intellectually stimulating is completely acceptable in the context of what the film sets out to do and all it sets out to be. It's a fast, tense thrill ride. A chase flick. Nothing more, nothing less. Exactly as everyone involved in the making of it intended. It starts out at point A, travels to point B, then there's a full stop and it ends. Job done. There's a theme song, the experience of which is much like syringe in your ears with tractor battery acid, but in the film itself, no incidental music at all. There was an original score by Jimmy Haskell, but director John Howe decided not to use it as it added too much of a light-hearted vibe to the film, he felt and said. Unless, of course, he was lying, and the composition was actually shit. With the sound design consisting of roaring engines, screaming wheels, crunching collisions, and thumping helicopter rotors, originally I failed to register the lack of a score until about 3/4 of the way through. You could safely say I didn't miss its presence. Howe directs the action with a no-nonsense, straight-up but nifty dynamism. Real stunts, real people, real cars, so it does look and feel realistic, what with its real-world physics and total lack of CGI, which it didn't really have at that point in time. Cop cars hurtle through billboards, plunge into rivers, slalom through gas stations and farm buildings, and the helicopter sequence where Franklin and the pilot try to force Larry and Co. off the road is eye-popping stuff. I forgot how well choreographed and and shot it was. Performance-wise, Fonda is all conceit and arrogance as Larry, who is not a particularly likeable main character. The eccentric giggle he affects, no doubt to delineate his craziness behind the wheel, doesn't do him any favours, as it soon starts to grate. That aside, it's maybe how the character was supposed to project, cocky, overconfident and disparaging. Susan George overacts wildly as a strident, loudmouth floozy who thinks she's more sophisticated and more deserving of attention and respect than she is. Of the three, Adam Rourke makes the most positive impact as Deke, a terse but cool-headed recovering alcoholic. He's the most nuanced and thoughtfully drawn character. He's the third wheel in this triangular relationship, but perhaps the most relatable despite that. Vic Morrow provides terrific support as a cynical, world-weary local cop with a nice line in sardonic put-downs, determined to stop the outlaws using any and all means at his disposal. It was Fox's biggest money spinner in its year of release. Peter Fonda expressed some surprise at that, along with bewilderment that people claim to have repeat-viewed it 4 and 5 times. Well, I think I know how that happened. As I said earlier, it was either the main or supporting act on multiple double bills, and did the circuit repeatedly. I estimate that in the space of 2 years I saw it at least 9 times. That probably accounts for it. The biggest surprise to me, though, was Susan George. She played a titular character known colloquially as Dirty Mary, emphasis on the dirty. It was another of her sexually promiscuous nymphette roles. And she keeps her kit on. Good God, yes, unbelievable. Susan George in No Nudity Scandal, a film that didn't require her to flash her bare baps even once. Bloody unheard of. I was flabbergasted. My flabber had never been so gasted. There should have been a fucking inquiry. Can't imagine what they were thinking. Over time, I'd forgotten just how good-humoured it is, succeeding in being downright funny in places, almost witty. It zips by at a fair old lick, doesn't spend too much time drawing breath. Its core appeal in being straightforward, undemanding entertainment. The jocular and good-natured tone is one that encourages support for and identification with the outlaws on the run, rather than the cops in pursuit of their asses. We want them to succeed, to escape to the better life they dream of. After all, they don't really hurt anyone. No one gets killed, even though it is a close-run thing on times. We want them to get away with it, but do they? Spoiler now, skip ahead 30 to 45 seconds should you not wish to know. They evade the fuzz, losing them in the walnut groves, outdriving and outrunning them. With multiple exits to choose from, none of which are covered by roadblocks, they've made it. Until they crash into a speeding freight train and the Dodge Challenger explodes in an almighty fireball, killing all three. The credits abruptly roll. Full stop. It's an ending very much in keeping with the ironic and downbeat creative mood of the times. Up until now, the film sells the audiences no messages, then finally lands several all at once. Politically, socially, religiously even, we're all fucked. God, the world, the universe, fate will get you in the end. And as director John Howe put it in an interview later, speed kills. Yeah, thanks for that, John. Who would have thought? Depending on your mindset, you will either like the ending or you won't. Personally, and this is out of character for me, I suppose, in this instance, I would have preferred it if Mary, Larry and Deke had gotten away with it free and clean, giving the establishment the finger in the process, and driving off into the sunset, bitching and scoring points as they go. Occasionally, I'm a little bit naive like that, a touch romantic even, but I don't feel the ending was compatible with the tone of the entire film that preceded it. It's unpleasantly jarring. Yes, on first viewing, it is an effective shock conclusion, a sudden emotional jolt. Certainly works on that level. Little bit of a downer though, perhaps incongruously so. It is what it is, however, and that's the way it is. Next to Vanishing Point, it's one of the key 70s chase flicks. It's well made, fun, hellishly amusing, and will probably make you smile here and there, whilst impressing with some incredible attention-grabbing old-school stunt work. They don't make films like this anymore, or in this way. Lest we forget, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry is a cool reminder to ourselves of how it was in the long ago time. Give it a spin, why don't ya? It might be worth your while. Thank you for your time and attention. Feel free to do whatever you choose to do next. Hit like, don't like, comment, subscribe, check out my early access Patreon thing, or even make a welcome financial contribution via the thanks button. There will be something else in the fullness of time when my time is less full and I get around to doing it. Catch you later, pilgrims.